morning. I'm actually a lot better today, thanks be to God. I think oh, look at this here. We have 2 crows up on the tree and the cat's halfway up as well. So they're obviously aware of each other. I don't know if you're a crow up there and you feel the cat that close, but they look very confident. I think they know their logistics. Maybe we have to say that the human situation is a little bit like that. The tensions we have, there's so many tensions in nature as well, all over nature. Even if we go to the physical level, the different forces holding nature together. I haven't refreshed that thought for a while. The one we know most is the force of gravity. And you have a centripetal force and a centrifugal force. And then there's a fourth major one. I'm trying to think if it's electric or something. But you have all these forces working and keeping nature in an amazing, amazing equilibrium. And if we look at our society, look at a family, 2 siblings, the way there's so much together and yet there can be such tension between 2 friends, between spouses, between generations, inside companies. And then some people break off one company and start another. Imagine the political parties, the way they fight. And then people can turn violent like in revolutions. And all kinds of uprisings. It's amazing. And today we have both readings absolutely boiling over with tension. And it's really about the processing of tension. How these oppositions are dealt with. How they are how one grows through the tensions. That I always come back to my favorite story of Maximilian Kolbe. And the more he was persecuted, the stronger he grew. And this is true of so many martyrs. The first American martyrs, the North American martyrs, Isaac Jogues and John de Brebeuf. You should read their biography. It's absolutely amazing what they endured progressively more and more. And maybe that's something we could do in this Holy Week that's starting on Sunday. We're already really in the dawn of it with the readings we have these days. How do we deal with our tensions with others? It's a lot of humanity. And we see Jeremiah today, and he's absolutely convinced of the truthfulness of and the authenticity of his mission from God to guide the people in times of great corruption, political corruption, moral corruption, spiritual corruption. And yet the leaders are out to kill him. And these sessions Jesus is having with the religious leaders, this debate type of scenario, but with a lot of hostility. And he's coming with a mission to reveal the fullness of God's love. And he can't deny his own identity if he is the eternal Son of the Father. But he wants to ease it in such a way. Sorry about the glitch there with the Wi-Fi. So how do you do that? How do you reveal your God? And you have this culture, it's very dug in of conviction, monotheistic conviction, very set in its ways and closed to a more correct understanding. And that's the huge challenge. And his own disciples obviously are also participating. They're there on the fringes of these conversations, maybe filled with fear because they recognize the power of the temple authorities, the power of the Roman occupiers, and they're in cahoots. And that's all going to be carried out to the maximum on Good Friday. But they're the key ones Jesus is teaching. It's not about knocking out these religious leaders in a debate. It's not about overpowering people, because that's against the nature of God. God doesn't want to overpower us. He gave us freedom, and he's opening up a space for us to grow beyond our own too human thoughts, to be able to think in a divine way. So maybe we should not so much focus on this resistance as the bad guys. And I think Jesus himself is in that direction, because, you know, after Pentecost, 3,000 of the priests accept baptism. And that's a huge portion. So there's real difficulty they're facing. And this text of opposition between Jesus and the leadership that we have in John chapter 8 is not exhausted by chapter 8. We need all the other chapters. And particularly we need Good Friday. And we need Easter Sunday. And we need Pentecost. Because it's all one story. And so we can't isolate one chapter as the only part. But it does give us a great feel for the whole flow of the revelation of God. we need to be watching ourselves and seeing how are we growing in these matters. How are we opening up to Christ, the mystery of God coming into our lives, the light shining in, enlightening our minds. And if there seems to be harsh opposition even from Jesus' side, like determined opposition, we have to go to Calvary to understand the nature of his opposition, because he's going to totally yield from the point of view of power. And he is completely victim to redeem us. Completely victim. And he will only be officially, publicly, so to say, exonerated or unburdened by the resurrection and habilitated as not an accursed one hung on a tree, but as the true Savior. That this is the path for humanity. In all of these conflicts that we endure, what's really happening is we're being shaped and we're growing. And we're growing, and we know that we don't have to lose it when there's a tension in the family. And we don't have to lose it when there's a difficult child. That we're called to greater growth. And there will be a day of vindication. And so together with the great virtue of truth and speaking truth, there's also an extraordinary capacity that's growing and developing of patience, of being able to wait for God's moment, of letting God bring out the triumph in our lives. And in that sense, God is making all of us into heroes, into people of great patience, great faith. Patience really means love. Great hope. So let's start with great faith, that he's at work and he's handling, even though people can't see and accept it. And that he is leading us to trust in him. God is saying, give me some time here, and you'll see how the piece of charcoal, this looks like it's burned, right? This tree here, how that becomes diamond under extraordinary pressure, extraordinary temperature, extraordinary length of time. And all that pain will produce the transformation of the charcoal into diamond. That's the nature of diamonds. So we're in the process. It's not just like it happened to Jeremiah. It's not just like he is simply a prefigurement of Jesus. It's the same figure that's happening, the same constellation of events and attitudes. But it's the revelation of a whole plan for all of us who go through the same thing, in one measure or another. There were different regimes that persecuted the church, but then there's also the hostility that one can feel in a free society where political correctness and many other pressures are applied, and mockery and scorn. And maybe the biggest challenge we all have is the failure of ourselves and our fellow believers who cause scandal. And those are also deep pressures, serious pressures. And the mother is the one in the family that usually knows to keep her wind the longest, who the parents are able to wade through a very hard time with a difficult child. Just in health issues, but also in moral issues and in spiritual issues. So may this coming 10 days now, through to Easter, be a great schooling in our ability to enter the deepest mysteries of life, the deepest challenges, the deepest bitternesses that we may have to face, and let the light of that we see in this process of Jesus, this legal process, this military process, this political process, but it's most of all a spiritual process that's revealing where grace can take humanity to such an incredible holiness, such an incredible fullness of life, really to divinize us, to make us God capable of the greatest heroic charity, the greatest self-giving, the greatest love for our enemies. That they're no longer our enemies, they're our brothers and sisters, they're just in a very bad place at the moment. What a transformation that we can reach that, and we don't blast them out of it, we don't bomb them out of it, we don't to endure all of this. People, amazing, isn't it? The sky this morning. God bless you. See you later, alligators. I know my voice is still a bit rough and there's still a bit of a cough, but I certainly feel that the worst of it is over. And a lot of people I heard yesterday in the region here have a bad situation, so there's something going around. God bless you.